They do look similar to what we saw yesterday, but it is going to take, as you know, we've cooled down more this morning, more to get to a similar spot to where we got yesterday. But those southeast winds going to be very light, going to see mostly sunny skies until some more clouds come in later, but really shaping out to be a beautiful day. Even a good start to the morning, even though it's colder. Calm winds in Lincoln, Beatrice, Aurora, Columbus, Kearney. Great way to start the day, and not many days that we get not a lot of wind, and that is what today is going to play out to be. Here's a look at some of those mostly clear skies in around Lincoln and areas to the north, a few lower level clouds in portions of south and southeast Nebraska, but a little light rain with some of that warmer air kind of moving into southwest Nebraska. And you can see some of this will try to move east throughout the next couple hours, but I think a lot of low level air is very, very dry at this point, so it would have a hard time making it to the surface. Now fast forward to this time tomorrow, through the first half of the day, we may see some scattered rain showers start up in and around the Tri-Cities, Holdridge, Hastings, and areas to the east. Lincoln may see a little bit of this into the early afternoon, but it's later in the night that we'll have the better chance for some stronger storms and possibly some severe weather through south central Nebraska and southwest Nebraska especially. Some storms getting going into the panhandle at this point, 6-7 o'clock tomorrow night. Some of these storms moving into southeast Nebraska are expected to weaken at this point. It is some of these isolated storms, though, especially when they're kind of discrete and by themselves like this, that they can tap into the better environment in that area overnight and into the early portions of Friday. So this may be an overnight threat. By no means, if you live in any of these areas, would I go to sleep without having notifications on. I have several ways to get severe weather alerts because we're most vulnerable when we're laying our head down to sleep. Now, as these storms move north and to the east throughout Friday, we are expecting these to kind of weaken throughout the first half of the day. Showers and thunderstorms possible before we get some clearing later on in the morning and into the afternoon for our next severe threat, especially for us here in eastern Nebraska. But with this threat Thursday evening and overnight for us here at home with that marginal risk that includes Lincoln, expecting lower end severe weather possible, like hail the size of quarters, maybe an isolated wind gust up to 70 miles per hour. Can't rule out an isolated tornado or two, but mainly through southwest Nebraska. An isolated flooding threat too for areas that see several rounds of thunderstorms Thursday, Friday, and even into this weekend. At this point, again, that Storm Prediction Center does highlight much of southwest and south central Nebraska in the level 2 out of 5 risks for slightly higher confidence in that area, seeing some of those stronger storms before we go into the rest of Friday. This was that area of clearing that we'll see kind of enter the picture from the south as this system starting to wrap in some drier air, and as we see some clearing, that is what would promote the further chance for severe weather Friday afternoon and into the evening. Now for us here at home and much of eastern Nebraska, some of these storms can't rule out any and all possible severe weather threats, including a few tornadoes, some damaging winds and large hail as we go into Friday afternoon and night, with a lot of those storms looking like they may be isolated in nature and kind of feed into that environment by themselves before that's kind of coming to an end on Friday night. So there is a slight risk for Lincoln, Beatrice, Omaha, and Columbus, largely for that afternoon threat. We are going to have to watch for how Thursday night and into Friday morning plays out for that Friday afternoon threat. And then there is another chance for severe weather, mainly off to our south and east through extreme southeast Nebraska for Saturday night and into Sunday. So as you can imagine, very active period we have coming up. It would be wise to have many ways to get severe weather alerts. Of course, we'll always be cutting in here on Channel 8 and have us tuned. We've got social media platforms that we also constantly post on, including our Now Local News app, and have many ways throughout this weekend to get those alerts.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Jessica.